Hello, my friends. Another beautiful morning here at Joyous Prairies. Welcome back. Well, we are at the end of our questions about loving your neighbor as yourself, and I kind of want to reflect on that a little bit. Today's question was, who are your role models? And I actually had to think about this question for a good solid week because I have difficulty finding role models in actual people because I think because we see all the flaws in other people or something, and I hate to be so critical, but that's kind of what it feels like to me. But I can say two people in my life really kind of stood out to me, and they're both gone. They're both with Jesus in heaven, and they're both grandmas. One was my grandma, my father's mother, and she passed away when I was 19 because she did not care for herself, and she, she, like my dad, succumbed to alcoholism, and she died. And I was 19 years old, so I had her as a grandma my whole childhood. And even though I don't remember a lot about my childhood, I do remember how she made me feel. And my mom told me a lot of stories about her and different things that she did and about her character. So I'm just going to talk about her a little bit. Now, I always felt very loved and very valued by this grandma. Her name was Nancy. I called her Grandma Nancy. She was a very tiny, beautiful woman. I look like her. And I always felt valued by her. And she knew how to have a good time. She loved people. She liked to gather people. She was the one that I referred to in a live stream that would bring home random people from the bar to have a meal with her family for Thanksgiving, for Easter, for these big celebration dinners. She would bring random people over if they had nowhere else to go. And she was very generous. She would have, given anybody anything that they needed. That's the kind of person she was. But she left me feeling always very warm and loved and like I belonged somewhere. And at the time that she passed away, I was a teenager. And, if you've ever been a teenager, a lot of times your family isn't real important at that time. So I do have some regret about not spending time with her at the end, but her passing was a surprise, and so I wasn't prepared for that. I still miss her very much. I wish she would have been able to witness my children being born and growing up, because she would have loved them as much as she loved me. Now, the other person that influenced me very much as an adult, because at the time that my grandma was passed away, I met my husband and we started dating, and then I met his grandma. And now she's only been gone for a few years. She lived to be 98 years old, and she was a mighty woman of God. She was a prayer warrior. She was just probably one of the strongest women in her faith that I've ever met. And she had also an absolute love for people, a very forgiving person. And she was one that looked at the world through rose-colored glasses. And she was delightful. And she taught me, she was very affectionate. And I grew up in a family that was not affectionate. Hugs and kisses and saying I love you was not really something that happened frequently in the family I grew up in. And actually it felt very odd to me when I joined my husband's family how affectionate they were. It felt odd. It felt alien. And my husband's grandma, who we called Granny, because she's the great grandma of my children, and that's what they called her, is Granny. She was very affectionate, always hugs and kisses and I love you, and lots of affirmation came from her mouth, and just this love for people. She would always say, I just love people so much. And she again was incredibly generous with her with her money, with her time, with her love. And she taught me how important it was to be affectionate to my children, to my husband, to the people that I love, and that physical touch is so important. So I was very affectionate to my children when they were younger, and I try to continue that into their teenageness, but whether or not they want it, we'll see. They might come back to it. And then, the original answer to this question for me, who is your role model, was a person that I have never met in person, because he's been gone off this earth for a long time, long since before I was born and you and I were born, and that would be Jesus Christ. The more that I study about his life as a man on this earth, the more that I think he is probably the most excellent role model for anyone. He was filled with compassion for people. He knew what people were going through. He could feel their heartache, and he could see the sheep without a shepherd. He could, was just unbelievable. And I have read that a lot of people, when they read over his life and his actions and what he did, that they think Jesus was an INFJ. And maybe that's why when I read about the way that he interacted with different people, why I can recognize myself and the way that I interact in him. Not that I think that I'm Jesus or anything like that, or I think I can even closely measure up to what he did on this earth. But I think as far as a role model, he would probably be the best one. And what I was really thinking about, that I really admired and want to be like, is the type of people that he hung out with. Because in that time there was, and I'm no biblical theologian, so this is just all paraphrasing and what I understand of reading about this. In that time there were unclean people, which, we don't have that, Jewish law anymore where you have to avoid these unclean people or go through all these things. But there's still people that are unclean, that are the, outcasts, the people that nobody wants to talk to, the whatever, people that are involved in different kinds of lifestyles and stuff. Those are the people Jesus went to. They weren't necessarily in his inner circle and his best friends, but those were the people that he was looking for. He wasn't looking for the super holy, fixed up, perfect people. He was looking to heal the broken. And he would go in and heal somebody or speak words over somebody or pray for them, but then tell them, don't stay the way you are. Go and sin no more. He loved people where they were at, but he didn't want them to stay where they were at. And he had some, supernatural God-given powers because he was God himself, so he could just touch someone and heal them. But he didn't leave people in their own self-chosen devastation. He called them for more than that. And he also was a fighter. He stormed into the temple and turned over their selling tables and their other things. And he stood in the face of people that wanted to spit at him. Pharisees and Sadducees, the people that were telling him that he was a heretic or whatever they called him. He stood and fought. I don't know if he physically fought, but, he told them, no, you're hypocrites. You're, washed on the outside and filthy on the inside. And he didn't leave people where they were. He called them to healing and to a better life and to forgiveness. And he just had such a love and compassion for people. So to me, that is the best role model. And studying his life, whether you believe in Christianity or not, studying the life of Jesus Christ and following after the ways that he did makes so much more sense to me in the way that we are made and with the way we are put together than any other person that you could follow. So this is the end of our questions, and after this I will be answering your questions because I have a long list of them that you have asked me over the last few months. So I will be doing that. But also I wanted to talk a little bit about what we've kind of discovered in this list of questions and some of the battles that we have gone through, or I have gone through in doing it. You know, part of the way through I wanted to abandon the whole thing because I felt like it was selfish to be asking and answering these questions. You know, to explore the self was fleshly, and there was a lot of times where I thought I should just stop it. I'm glad I didn't, because I learned a lot of things. I'm hoping you learned a lot of things. I was able to discover and uncover some strongholds and places where the enemy wanted to attack me, and I've been able to, you know, with the help of Jesus, of course, overcome those things and just really have my eyes open to some areas that need a lot of work, and also some areas where a lot of work has been done and I've had some healing, which is pretty amazing. So yeah, I've enjoyed this list of questioning. I kind of want to make it an annual thing starting at the new year, but of course I'll have to find different questions and we'll just see how it goes. But yeah, in the last few months there's a lot of new people here and I welcome you. It's exciting for me to know that whatever message I have for the people is being spread, but it's terrifying at the same time. So, you know, I am, as I said in my last video, you know, gentle, quiet leader, reluctant leader, and there's still some, you know, some old things playing in my head that say, you know, be quiet, sit down, be small. But I'm fighting through those things, and maybe that's a little bit where I'm going to be a warrior, is just fight through the voices that tell me that I need to be quiet and I need to be silent. So yeah. Anyway, so congratulations, we're done with our questions, and I will starting this next week be answering your questions. So I so appreciate you, all of you that are here, those of you that have been here from the beginning, and my awkwardness and my journey through all of the things you've seen me go through. And then to the new ones, welcome. I am so grateful. And yeah, have a beautiful day. Live and love out of the way you were created.